F is for friends who do stuff together. U is for you and me. N is for anywhere and anytime at all. Down here in the deep blue sea.
Growing up, my ideal social circle was a few friends who I was very close to while having some other minor friends. If you're a 25-year-old adult, well, you've escaped this fiasco just in time, because a new bully will haunt you today, as this article describes right here. In Massachusetts, parents expressed their anger after a school decided to forbid students from using the term best friends. A notable incident involved a mother named Christina Hartwell, told Boston 25 News that her 4-year-old daughter came home upset after teachers told her that she couldn't refer to any of her classmates as best friends in Georgetown, Massachusetts. Because of this, she was afraid to call anyone a BFF. Outraged, the mother searched for any guidelines or rules that might support the teacher's claims and found none. She then went to her daughter's principal. However, things went downhill from there, as the principal actually took the teacher's side and sent a letter stating that they had done research about kids using the term best friend and that it may be harmful. That way they were going to be discouraging children from using the term at school and group settings, as banning it can promote inclusion.
F is for fire that burns down the whole town. Use for uranium bombs. N is for no survivors.
This is retardation at its best. Just because you have a best friend, that does not mean you're going to exclude and neglect everyone else on planet Earth. People have the right to be close with whom they want. I feel sorry for two of my little cousins who might grow up in these weird times.
Something about this idea, now particularly with social media and all of that, which kicks in very young, about this hashtag BFF thing. It immediately sets this friend out to being different from all other friends.
Well, that's the point of best friends. You have someone who will be closer to you, but that does not mean you won't have other friends.
Which then immediately sets you into a mini clique and a mini group. Some children don't want a best friend. I never really had a best friend. If I did have a best friend, I think it's because no one else wanted to be friends with us. So we were just left. I'm not really a best friend person.
Yeah, I can see why.
And that's just me. So there will be children who don't, and there will be just children who do. But I think that the main point about this story really is not to say that we're going to ban best friends, but the role of a primary school teacher perhaps as well, and it makes their lives easier as well, is to just try and keep children moving around within groups. And if they spot a group of kids who are really bestie, you're my bestie, you know, that's maybe not actually very helpful for them or anyone else.
We've had lots of people getting...
Can you actually show me this research that says having a best friend is bad? And if it's from BuzzFeed or Now This, I'm going to shoot myself.
Touch with this. The majority are sort of outraged that they might be banning it. But Judy says, my daughter had a terrible time with a best friend at primary school who ended up bullying my daughter. The schools could encourage children to not play with just one group, but parents can invite everyone to birthday parties. That's something that happened for my boys. And it can happen, can't it, that you get a very intense relationship with one person and that can exclude others.
It can do that, and but I think that's the nature of all relationships. So children learn that from a young age, but that can happen at any stage throughout life.
Okay, so just because some people end up being actual bigots, we need to police the friendships of all people. Yeah, this is just like the all white people meme.
There can be a lot of good learning in that, though, because what a child can learn is what a negative relationship is like, but also it can build resilience in a child. Now, it's not a pleasant experience, but we can't protect children from negative experiences, and also it teaches them that what a good and a bad relationship is like, that some relationships last, some relationships don't. But what it can also teach a child as well is that being able to have a friend and lose a friend is a normal part of what can happen in life.
You cannot erase problems from the earth. Kids learn through negative experiences. We all do. But one thing kids also learn is that they can develop new friendships with other people.
Does it change with age? Because I can imagine that when you're young and you first start school, there's something about the alien world of strangers that you find yourself in, where palling up and having like a wingman is very important. And then as you get older, it becomes a different dynamic where it's potentially more poisonous.
Well, again, I think it just depends on you as a character, actually. I do see gender difference very strongly. So my older two are girls, my younger sort of child is a boy, then I've got a baby girl. But we really noticed it, I mean, from nursery age onwards. And interestingly, in the clip that you played, I don't think any of the boys said they had best friends. Yeah. Boys don't have best friends, they have mates, they have friends, whereas girls have a best friend. And it's very territorial, it's quite possessive, and for me there's an element of, it's actually not to do with this friendship, it's about telling everybody else that this is my best friend. And so, you know, in as much as I think that we can, I think it is a good idea to try and just try and keep things a little more broad.
No, that is not true at all. Boys do have best friends. I myself am one of them, and I personally have always been better off with a few close friends and multiple regular friends than just being with everybody. Now, in response to your second point, if you have a best friend just to show them off, you're a really shitty person. You should have friends to connect with someone.
With those type of friendships, I think that tends to be more the individual who takes possession of a person. So if you're noticing that, then that's obviously not healthy. But if it's a supportive relationship, but some kids, they actually need it.
Okay, well, look at the negative. Let's help us with the negative then. You're the psychologist. So Donna says there was this thing in her daughter's school where there was a best friend, BFF1, a BFF2, and it went on and on and on. And if you were given a lower rating, presumably the girl that was attributing this is very popular, it was unsettling. So how do you handle it if your parents could be watching now and there's a girl that's upset because she thought she was best friends and now they've moved on and it's changed? How do you help your youngsters to handle this then?
I think children are a lot more resilient than we give them credit for. And I think it's just remembering where they're at in that stage. Like, this is an immature brain dealing with immature relationships. So children fall out over the most ridiculous of things. They really do.
But hugely important to them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's important to listen to the child. If the child is in distress, of course, they need to be supported. But also, I think it's important that they learn that not every person they come in contact with is going to be their friend. Yeah. But also, they're not going to have the same type of close relationship with everybody.
That's true, but they will learn on their own, and putting restrictions on them will just make it harder for them to learn.
On the other side, though, Liz, Maggie says this is ridiculous. My son needed his best friend to cope with school, and Rachel says, my daughter's been bullied at school for the last few years. If it wasn't for her best friend at school, she wouldn't want to go at all.
Yeah, that's a very important
when it's been crucial, that relationship.
And it is that double-edged sword thing, so the best friend can be a helpful thing. And I think the point about the different world that these children are growing up in, it is an important one. We all grew up in a world where if you had a bestie, it was only within, it was in real time, it was live. Whereas now it's that they share these things they're all on FaceTime and Snapchat and stuff like that, which we're far too old for because we just use older things. But they do, and so then it becomes a very public declaration of, look at these best friends, and that's a different thing. A best friend will always be a best friend and will be there for you. You don't need to tell anybody. You don't need to label it.
Why do we have to be so extreme, though? So these schools in America have banned it. Rather than saying, let's look at our relationships work and let's encourage people to be friends with everybody, let's just ban it. And so, as you say, in a very young mind, that's like, I'm not allowed to have a best friend. It's so extreme, aren't we?
It's vital. If where best friends really come into their own is for only children that have no siblings. So that best friend can literally be a substitute brother or sister, and in some cases the best friend as well is the only supportive relationship that child might have. So pulling that away would actually damage the child more than actually letting the child have a best friend.
And just when I thought that things might end up rationally, he says this: you can't put a label on who is fit to have a best friend and who isn't. That all depends on the kid.
What's up, you guys? It's Lauren, and I'm here with my best friend. Her name is Luna.
But in any case, Bering made a video similar to this one, and I find it hilarious that people would try to eliminate kids from having actual best friends because they'll just have them in secret and not tell anyone.